So the Kickstarter is doing pretty well still. We got about 18 days to go or so, and I am pretty sure we're at about 10,500, probably a little bit over that since last time I looked. So we're doing pretty good considering that the goal was $750. We're well over it by like 1,400% or something like that at this point. So continuing with this kind of series of videos on the Kickstarter that I'm running, as well as maybe some kind of helpful things for other people on how they can use Kickstarter as a tool or kind of develop their own product in a way. So in this episode, I'm going to talk about the process of basically the logic and the process of taking what I've made and using Kickstarter as a tool to fund that idea. So basically, I have a bunch of ideas that I constantly get, and I constantly write them down. And for me, it's always about developing the idea into something that could be bigger. Whenever that idea happens to be something like a retail product or something like that, the money to basically start a company, even for somebody that can design and animate and market their own product, it takes a lot of money. So you've really got to be really thoughtful on all the businesses that you kind of want to start, or all the ideas that you kind of want to start funding. And for me, it's about sort of like leveling up in a way. So what I like to do is I start with the idea of, okay, what can I do that would cost less than $100 or so to find out if the idea is even worth going forward at that point. The reason that I don't jump into something big and just buy a bunch of different buy a mass quantity of something to sell it is that it's tough to tell if something's going to be a good idea or a bad idea. And to me, it's about spending as little amount of money as you can to find out if that idea is worth anything to other people. Basically, I could have gone out there and I could have built a website. I could have bought a large inventory of these cards instead of going the route of Kickstarter. But to do that, it would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars, and that's a pretty big risk. So the game that I like to play a lot is reducing risk as much as you possibly can. Once I had the first deck made, I started realizing that it was actually working for me, and I thought that it was a good idea that other people might also like. But I think the hardest part was being able to explain how it works with people. And that's actually something that I still think that I definitely got to work on in the coming months before we launch a real website now and actually turn this into a business. So after I figured out how to kind of explain it better to people when I started getting it, I wanted to do a project on my own and see kind of what would happen. See what kind of stuff I would come up with. So if you go to the Instagram for Zwellico, at Zwellico, you'll see that there's a series, a couple series ago. I like to do things in threes, and it was about lighting and just kind of projection of lighting. So I basically went into the project thinking, okay, I want to do something with 3D. And so I shuffled the cards, I flipped 2 over, and then I got light and I got basic shapes. So the very first one, you'll see that I created some basic shapes in 3D, and then instead of just shining a light on it, I got to thinking more about projection than an actual literal light. And that's what kind of led me to creating this piece of... it was a really fun piece that apparently a lot of people liked, because that was probably my best performing post on Instagram. Over the course of a week, I grew the Instagram account almost 50% or so, which is pretty impressive. And I'm not saying that these cards are gonna give you that kind of boost in your Instagram account, but I think it's really interesting how trying to come up with more original ideas with this tool and the amount of response that it kind of generated. And I think there's definitely something there to that, because if I didn't do that, maybe I would have made something that looked a little too much like something else and was just kind of boring to people. But once I saw the results of kind of what this tool can do, then I was absolutely ready to launch the Kickstarter for this, because now I was really confident in the product myself. So after, it was probably about a week and a half or so after that where I set up over the course of a month or so, I was actually setting up the Kickstarter, or the idea for it, but I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go that route until after the Instagram post, and I was like all in for that. So I set up the Kickstarter, and I kept iterating just the Kickstarter itself, and had some other people look at it too, and they gave a lot of good feedback on what things made sense, which things didn't make sense. And as soon as I launched it, we were immediately one of Kickstarter's projects we liked, and I think that kind of set us on a really good course for this project. And it's been pretty cool to see a lot of the response from it. And like I said, we have a ton of backers that are all over the world at this point. I think there's over 375 people that we're going to be shipping these to in a month or two, and that's going to be a pretty exciting time. But anyway, I'll see you next week, and if you guys have any questions or something that you want to hear about with this campaign specifically, or just Kickstarter in general, let me know and let's talk about it. Okay, bye.